we'll be looking at a very important development in our economic landscape. Today, we are discussing the groundbreaking developments that sets to reshape the country's economic landscape, Nigeria's partnership with the BRICS group. Nigeria has officially become the second African nation and the 9th member to join the BRICS group as a partner country, making significant milestones in the country's economic history. This partnership is expected to strengthen cooperation among the global South nations and push for reforms in international institutions. As a partner country, Nigeria joins an exclusive group of nations including Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Thailand, Uganda, and Uzbekistan. This newly established partner status enables these nations to actively engage with and benefit from various BRICS initiatives, further solidifying the bloc's role as a champion of global South and driver of geopolitical and economic multipolarity rather. But what does this partnership mean for Nigeria's economy? What are the potentials, benefits and challenges? How will it impact investment opportunities and global influence? To answer these questions and more, we are joined by Steve Nwachukwu, a renowned economist, financial analyst, and a lead researcher at the Steward Asset Management Limited. Steve will share his expert insight, of course, on the economic implication of Nigeria's BRICS partnership and what it means for the country's future. Good morning, Mr. Steve, and thanks for joining us this morning. Hello, good morning, Mr. Steve. You may have to check the volume of... Oh, okay, that's fine. Good morning, can you hear me?
Perfectly, I can hear you. Good morning and Happy New Year.
I wish you the same, Mr. Steve. The last time we saw was last year, of course. New year, new beginning. All right, it's good to have you join us this morning. The conversation is being partnership members to BRICS. Just for clarity for our members, what does this statute exactly imply? Does it now mean we are full members of the BRICS country, or this is just an observer status? What does this imply for us exactly?
Well, the clarity is still hidden in the terms membership and partnership. I think with time we'll be able to know what it really implies. But I know whatever be it, once you are invited, it means you have the same benefits and all members of the BRICS has. Have in mind that the essence of this very group, like you read at, is for the purpose of strategically diversing investment portfolio of member states. And what this simply means that the benefits of joining or benefit of being one of the global players in the South is going to benefit us to open up those business opportunities for Nigerians to have free and quicker access to data, free and quicker raw materials, and also other benefits that comes with being a member of such an important economic bloc. The membership status, like you asked earlier, may also be given some level of clarity in regards to if as a member or as a partner, you share the equal status like every other person. I know there won't be that level of discrimination. Yes, BRICS started with the 5 member states, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and they expanded to about 9 or 11, which invited additional 5 or 6 countries, and now additional, I think, about 9 countries again. So meaning the expansion is actually growing. I'm sure there won't be that discrimination between a member status among the members of the BRICS. Thank you.
Okay. All right. It's a good thing we've cleared that out, but would this see any economic impact? What do we stand to gain from these other countries in terms of trade deal and investment opportunities?
Definitely, there are bands of investment opportunities and economic opportunities for member countries. Have in mind that the BRICS constitutes about 46% of the global GDP, or sorry, the global population, and about 36% of the global GDP. So having to be a member of such a very important and sizable economic bloc, we have a lot of benefit. Have in mind, as a member, you have access to other members in trade facilitations, in trade opportunities, in foreign direct investment opportunities, inflows among member states. So having to be a member of such a very economic bloc that controls about 36% of the world GDP, it means a lot of opportunities are bound there for Nigerians, from the flow of foreign direct investment, from the flow of access to raw materials, down to other investment opportunities that are bans, down to flow of funds, like they have the new development bank for the BRICS. Is a development bank, so it has a cheaper finance of cheaper funds for member countries, and which Nigeria probably will tap into it to have access to development funds that can tackle most of our infrastructural needs. So beyond the development funds or inflows of foreign direct investment, you also have this very political advantage as a global alliance for the South. When a member country cries, others will rally around them. Have in mind, it's an alliance of economic bloc. So that advantage is also there, because as India is the largest democracy in the world, is a member of that country. So that very opportunity to also tap on what is being done in India as a political bloc, as a democracy, is also a band for Nigerian entity, or Nigeria as a nation. Then you also have that, like I said earlier, the diversification of economic portfolios. You have opportunity to invest in A, B, C countries. These are the opportunities also available to Nigeria. You also have that financial inclusion. It gives opportunity for member countries to see how they can tap from all forms of funds available within member states. Remember that this is a member country that controls 36% of the global GDP. It's very important we anchor on that 36% of world economic activities goes around this very country. And plus Nigeria and other countries that have been admitted, it means it's going to hit close to 42 or 41% of the global budget, which is a lot of advantage for the member country. Have in mind that the global South, or the global South economic bloc, which is controlled by United States in form of the G7, controls less than around 31% of the global GDP. The likes of Italy, France, Canada, USA, Japan, and Germany, and United Kingdom, that forms the G7s, the G7 Global North Economic Bloc, while they control around 31% of the global GDP. The BRICS controls more than 36% of the global GDP. So it's going to benefit us so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Steve, one area where Nigerians would be a bit worried about this membership, two areas actually. The first one is members of the BRICS lately, as a way of also further diversifying their portfolios, have been talking about moving away from the dollar, you know, as a common currency of reserves or trade. And we know what the almighty Trump, you know, has said about the attempt by BRICS to move away from the dollar as the currency of reserve. He has threatened to severe trade with most of them and put sanctions on most of their products coming to the United States. Do you think that with the coming of Trump, and I mean, Trump does not just threaten. You see how many executive orders he has signed within 24 hours. Do you think our membership at this time come at a time where the future and the stability of BRICS seems to be in doubt?
Yes, of course. I think you made a very, very, very important observation, having in mind that the global South, which is the alliance of the global South, which is the BRICS, is trying to counter the alliance in existence of the G7, which is the global North. And US controlling more than 60 or 42% of that very group. We don't want that group to be weakened. And so many other weaker nations, yes, I must use the word weaker nations that are joining the BRICS. You remember that with the influence of the United States, Argentina, who ought to have joined, declined after the election because of their political interest on alliance with United States. So I think, yes, definitely the weaker nations that are intending to join this very economic bloc will be threatened with all manner of economic sanctions, with all manner of diplomacies, and the rest of them will be dished to dictate most of this nation, also to frustrate them being an active member of this very economic bloc. So I know for sure, yes, like you said, Trump is not going to let go. He's going to do a lot of things that perhaps threaten the BRICS interests or threaten the membership of the smaller nations, weaker nations like Nigeria economically that may wish to join institutions of this notch. But have in mind that the overall interest of joining should be the driving force. No matter what you come up with, through the a form of sanctions or economic barriers that you may put on that could deter such nations, the overall interest while members are joining is to help them expand and give them opportunity to expand their investment portfolios, giving them access to a larger market, giving them access to free funds, giving them access to free and cheaper funds for development. So I'm very sure the overriding interest will definitely keep such institutions to make sure that they become or actively participate among the member states of the BRICS. Yes, of course, the risk of Trump is there, and I don't know what he will be coming up with. Yes, of course, the essence also to be among these very BRICS is to diversify the foreign transactional reserves that some of the member states have. Actually, unfortunately, there have not still been an alternative to dollar in form of trade settlement and for the purpose of reserve. As we speak, the almighty China is still having a lot of their reserve. More than 35% of their reserves are still in dollars. So that is where the problem is. As much as the BRICS is trying as much as possible to find alternative to dollar, that's why they are making sure they are trying to pile up gold, so that the gold can serve as that very form of foreign reserve opportunity for member countries. Until they find alternative to dollar, I'm sure the threats and other trade barriers or sanctions that may come from the almighty US may also be effective, or may also deter member nations from participating or belonging actively with these BRICS states. So the dollar, so the influence of dollar is still there to deter member states. So yes, of course, I know that President Trump will be coming up with some level of sanctions or perhaps trade barriers, whatever it may come, that may deter member states. And I'm sure he's not going to close at his eyes, seeing Nigeria, one of the largest economy, among the largest economy in Africa, joining the BRICS. South Africa is already there, and I think he's going to do all his best. But like I said, let the overriding interest of joining BRICS always push us or hold us to be a member of BRICS. A member state of an economic bloc that controls over 36% of the global GDP is worth being a member. Thank you.
At this point, where does this leave Nigeria? You know, seeing that the issue of the dollar is coming to play, where does this leave Nigeria, and how can they foster better ties with their Western allies in such a way that their being a member of BRICS would not affect ties they have with Western allies?
Okay, I think it requires all levels of all forms of diplomacy. In as much as you are joining BRICS, you're not closing your doors to the global north. You are actually going to still have an existing transactions. In fact, the bulk of our transactions are still coming from that global north, including Italy, France, Germany, USA, and the rest of them. So United Kingdom. So definitely we are not closing our doors. So it requires some level of diplomacy that is required from the Nigerian government to, perhaps give that very posture that we are still in partnership, we are still in business deals with you, we are not closing our doors against this global north economic bloc. So I'm sure that will be the posture of Nigeria. And have in mind, like I keep saying, Nigeria is one of the emerging developing countries. They don't close their doors to opportunities that abounds in other economic specs, opportunities that are created. The challenge, like I earlier stated, is the dominance of dollar in the international trade of the world. The dollar can never be substituted as we speak. I'm very sure that since existence of these BRICS, they have been trying their best to find a substituted opportunity or substitute a substitute to dollar, and I'm very sure they've not found such substitute to dollar, and that's why they are talking about currency swap among member states, settlement of transaction using member state currencies in form of the currency swaps, and which Nigeria also have engaged with China. As we speak, we have a renewed $2 billion currency swap, and that is quite enough, and we need something more than that. And if the BRICS member states will continue to adopt such trade settlements and international trade settlements using their currencies in form of currency swap, that would be a lot of advantage. That would counter whatever influence the dominance of dollar in the international trading space will have on their transactions. So definitely they will apply all form of diplomacy that is required to make sure that they maneuver whatever challenges that may come from the posture of United States, having Trump as the head of the United States. Thank you.
So Steve, the pessimistic side of me as a Nigerian sometimes would say these agreements at the end of the day would not lead to anything. We saw what we did with the AGOA, Africa Growth Opportunity Act provision by the United States. We didn't scratch the surface. A lot of countries took the opportunity to export so much and earn a lot of dollar. You talked about the currency swap with China, was in place for over 8 years. We didn't scratch the surface. It was there in the offing for us. We just didn't make it possible for our businesses to take advantage. And we know what bureaucracy can do to discourage people from trying new things. They would rather stick with what they already know. What can we do as a country to not just enter all kinds of agreements? We have over 50 BASA agreements. We have our counterpart taking advantage of those and coming to these countries and taking all the benefit. But we don't have our own planes or our own carriers in Nigeria touching those places and also deriving benefit from those destinations. What can we do to move away from just the fantasy of being part of these exclusive clubs or exclusive groups to really taking advantages of them and making our business people and informal sectors, derive direct benefits from membership of this kind of exclusive clubs?
That's quite a fantastic question. I think that is the bulk of the whole thing, not just for the fantasy's sake, joining or joinable. It's a question of maximizing all possible benefits that comes from such membership or from such economic blocks. It's quite unfortunate, like you read, that most of these very bilaterals, most of these very member states, whatever we have joined internationally, we've not been able to maximize the opportunities that are bans. I think it's the buck stops on the table of this very current administration. What are those things that we've been doing that have not aided or have not helped us maximize it? Is it lukewarm attitude, or is it that we don't have enough diplomat or international analysts that could be able to understand, yes, this is good for us to join and this is not good for us. No matter what you do, you can't benefit anything. So I think we need to be much serious this time to tell ourselves the truth that whatever we are joining, we must strive. We must strive to maximize every economic opportunities that comes with it. Take, for instance, what this BRICS will help us do. It will help us lower cost of transaction. We are talking about the dominance of dollar in the international trade space. And if we can have a very much good transactions with member states of the BRICS, definitely this very currency swap will help us, and it will lower costs of transaction. And we're also talking about economic integrations. And economic integration in this nature will help Nigeria industrialize. We are talking about the almighty China, the India, and the rest of them that are already industrialized, so we can tap from them. So these are the things that these diplomats who signs these docs will be looking at. What can we benefit? Is it for the fun fair or the fantasy fair sake of joining these very economic blocks, beyond the political collaboration or cooperation that we may gain, or the alliance for the fact of being members of this very economic bloc? We need to start tapping, making sure that we make good use of these very opportunities that are banned. For instance, the BRICS has what they call the New Development Bank. What is this very bank doing? It's dishing out billions and millions of dollars that can help develop unindustrialized member state countries. So government of Nigeria should be looking at that. We continue to hit the debt market to borrow in a very exorbitant interest rate. These very new opportunities are there for our government to tap and make sure that we take these development funds that is available in these BRICS to develop critical infrastructures that we needed to develop. These are the things that the government needs to be focusing on. Like I said, you're quite right that most of the agreements or most of the membership we have entered into will benefit nothing from that, because from the on-go we don't have a target, or from the on-go we did not set our target, what we are looking to achieve, what we intend to achieve, or what we intend to get. Like I read out these opportunities abound, like access to cheap raw materials, access to diversified economy or portfolio, economic stability, lower transaction costs, financial inclusion, access to broader markets, access to development funds, political cohesion or cooperation, sharing cross-border data to enhance business opportunities or cooperation, economic integrations and industrialization, unlocking economic potentials for foreign direct investments, inflows among the member states. This is enough. If we can focus on 3 or 4 of them, like making sure that our transaction is lowers among member states, making sure that we enhance all the opportunities available in free funds that exist among these very member states. This is enough for us to focus on, and we can actually come out brighter and better as a nation with a larger economy in Africa, which will also boast us. In fact, the projection that the BRICS may also hit 40-42% in 2028 and 2027 GDP is there. And Nigeria joining will also add them, lifting them up from this 36.4% controlling of the global GDP to somewhere close to 40-41%. So it is essential that we focus on those areas that we can actually maximize or tap those opportunities to make sure it's not just for the fun fair or the fantasy sake that we are joining this very economic bloc. It's important for our political leadership and our diplomats to take make maximum use of these opportunities.
That's how our diplomats can make maximum use. And I would like you to also help us stretch, that conversation a bit further. Recently, we have seen our president travel to some of these BRICS country. We received the Indian Prime Minister in Nigeria. He was in South Africa, and we got some very good deals, if you ask me, takeaway. We were also in Brazil with some of our business people, and we got some also very good deals in Brazil. Do you think this is the way to go? We are beginning to see some of our business people, travel on the entourage of the president. Do you think this is something that can be expanded? Because business is faster when it is B2B than when it is government to government. Government, in my estimation, is just supposed to create the enabling environment. The real business and the speed with which we can see the FDIs and the FPIs is how quick businesses in the same sector or industry are able to talk to each other, reach cooperation, and vitalize those corporations. We have a lot of our airlines struggling to put up an MRO to do maintenance, and Brazil is a hub, especially for airline operations. India is a hub for spare parts, for all the talk we have around CNG and all of that. South Africa, as one diplomat once said in our studio, is supposed to even be a contiguous state with Nigeria. We are not supposed to need visas to South Africa. Don't you think that if our businesses can talk seamlessly with businesses in each of these economies we talk about, it will fasten this integration, and it will crystallize the benefit much quicker than just when government goes and sign these dotted lines and come back and tell us, oh, we have reached this beautiful agreement between our countries, and we expect by some kind of magical ones that they would crystallize to the bottom.
Well, this is more than a question. It's a very fantastic summation. Like I said again, I think it's the posture of our political leaders and their desire to better the lives and the lives of Nigeria and enlarge the economy itself. You're quite right. And that's why we have to look at your question from these two perspectives. Is this political leadership having this transactional posture or developmental posture? When you have transactional posture, you can go and sign those deals, and it only benefits the other side of the country, while you are not carrying the local industries or local players along. Yes, we've also seen some of those trips where we have some of the captains of industry join him to most of those very trips. But the truth is, how much ready are our local players, and how much transactional posture do this very political leadership have? Most often, yes, the government drives those level of bilaterals because it's government to government before you talk about business to business or the industry to industry key players. And you can have better agreements than when your government is there telling you, if you don't do this for me, I won't do this for you. It's only on that grounds that the key industrial players can sit and have a better bilaterals or better business transaction agreement with other counterparts. So I think, like I said again, is a question of understanding the posture of government. Are they transactional driven? Are they transactionally driven, or are they developmentally driven? If they're developmentally driven, I'm very sure that those bilaterals will take interest of these very captains of industry, or take interest in developing these very sectors that you mentioned. There are a lot of sectors that needs a lot of bilateral agreements so that we can also have some level of technological transfer from these very member states. Those visits should be start yielding. Yes, they don't materialize in the short and medium term. Some of them are long-term driven, but that should be a level playing ground for such materialization of bilaterals or agreements that have been signed. Yes, we still would need them to start speaking in numbers. We need to start seeing a lot of development. We need to start seeing, even in the form of direct inflows of these very foreign direct investments reaching to Nigerian shores, so that we can see, yes, for sure, these investors are really willing not just to sign for the signing's sake, signing those papers, and you are not seeing those foreign direct investment flowing into the shores of Nigeria. These are the realities we live to see. But like I said again, it's subject to the posture of these very political leaders? Is this bilaterals and agreements for the fun's sake, or is it for the transactional sake, or is it for the development of Nigeria? And time will tell when those numbers will start reflecting. For now, we can judge because, like I said, the materialization of some of these very bilaterals and agreement comes in longer or medium term time. It doesn't have that very short time, but the short time could be, yes, we sign this. Yes, these funds are be moving preparatory to development of such sectors. So we need to start seeing such numbers. Once it start reflecting, then we can give kudos to the government that these bilaterals are yielding. Like I said again, it boils down to the posture of the political leaders. We need people who are patriotic, people who will see Nigeria first and make sure that these bilaterals brings the dividends that is required. Thank you.
On the other hand, now on the path of Nigeria, we're joining these unions, we're joining these associations. What do we bring to the table? How can Nigeria make sure that beyond oil and gas, what exactly do we have to offer these countries? How can we diversify our economy and develop in such a way that these countries are seeing more than just oil and gas to benefit from, from Nigeria, so that we don't just be a table member, but we have a lot more to offer?
Well, I think the first face value of Nigeria is the population itself. Nigeria is over 220, 230 million people. That's a lot we are bringing on table. So, like I said earlier, this is an access to financial inclusion. Beyond the financial inclusion, the access to a broader market. So this is a market for them too to tap into. So Nigeria is bringing that on table, and Nigeria is also bringing that very opportunities for them to trade. Definitely, every members are bringing that. So when I talked about the ability to access data for business cooperation and business expansions, yes, if Nigeria becomes a full member, it means that this opportunity to tap into the available needs, the data aspect of the needs of Nigerians, where some of the industrials can tap in and say, well, okay, these 200 million people need this and they need that. Let's develop this, let's do this so that they can sell to us. The same way we are looking at the member states, the population, what do they need? What can we supply to them? Like I said earlier, access to raw materials. Nigeria has a lot of raw materials, untapped raw materials, and these are the things that most of these member states will be looking at, how they can buy from us and what we can also buy from them. Yes, most often we don't have much to bring to table, given the fact that, yes, we don't have much internationally wise to play in the global space. But as we speak, yes, Nigeria, with all abundant natural and human resources, has a lot to tap in this very BRICS. We have a lot of good brains that can work and assist, that can also, help to develop the initial intentions of the BRICS, making it a global alliance for the SAC. So I think we have a lot we can also offer, and the market, like I said again, is what we are bringing to the table, and the population is what we also bringing to the table. Yes, of course, it may have its own disadvantage that Nigeria will become a dumping ground. Having a 220 million, others will tap into us. Yes, Nigeria 220 million, they will just dump their product, dump their services to us. What are we also sending over there? Is it only the raw material we'll be sending? These are the questions that those who are signing these dots will be looking at. What can we send to these member nations in form of finished product, not just the raw material? I think there is a big questions to be answered in regards to this, your question. What is Nigeria bringing on table? Beyond this population, beyond access to this market, we need to bring more to the table. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Steve Nwachukwu, for bringing those invaluable insights to our conversations this morning. You've said quite a lot, but what resonates with all of us is that there's so much to benefit and there's also so much to offer, depending on what we make of these agreements and how we are willing to apply ourselves with regards to the benefits therein. Once again, thank you very much for finding time to be part of this show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much and have a great week ahead. All right, we'll take